Part 66. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 675. We have thought of this a long time ago. Chu Xia sighed helplessly. People always use this kind of self-righteous kindness to kidnap others, but when it is their turn, can they really do it? Don't worry about it at all. The way your grandparents used to treat you. To be honest, if it were your biological parents, you can only say that they are too biased. But the key point is that your biological grandparents were indirectly killed by them, and they took it as a matter of course. They took their property and abused their children. This behavior should be struck by lightning. Anyone in the village who has a sense of purpose will not think that your family should help them. Those who are clamoring are just seeing Uncle Baohe and Aunt Yulan doing well, and they have no place to put the sour water in their stomachs. It just so happens that they have a chance now. Do we have to add fuel and jealousy to prevent the world from becoming chaotic? What Luo Xiaoqian said makes sense. Jealousy is the devil. Gossips are spread by those who are idle and narrow-minded. But the thing is, when one person says it, many people laugh at it. When two people say it, some people have to think about it. When many people say it, it becomes true if it is not true. Those who can really stick to their side are often those who know them well and are particularly upright. In other words, this is also an opportunity for her parents to get to know many people. The two of them muttered behind each other, but Zhou Mikang remained silent. More than 20 minutes later, the car stopped in the courtyard of the county hospital. Chu Xia became nervous unconsciously, although she thought it was impossible, but what if it's true? This was a big departure from her plan. She really didn't want to become a mother so early. Feeling that something was wrong with her mood, Luo Xiaoqian looked at her in confusion. Chu Xia, it's just a small problem. Why are you nervous? I'm not nervous. Chu Xia quickly adjusted her emotions and walked forward. As soon as you enter the door, turn right and you will see the registration window. Zhou Mikang took out the money from his pocket and handed it over. Doctor, Obstetrics and Gynecology. Luo Xiaoqian, who was following behind, shone brightly on Chu Xia's face like a searchlight. Captain Zhou is talking about studying obstetrics and gynecology. Yet Chu Xia nodded helplessly. She didn't expect that the head of the group, Tongzi, would go to the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology directly, just as she wanted. She should have been admitted to gastroenterology first. Anyway, she was 80% sure that she couldn't be pregnant. However, since the head of the group had already been admitted, she couldn't quarrel with him in public in the hall. I must have a good talk with him when I go back, and I must seek her opinion before making any decisions in the future. It's not like he didn't hear the conversation between her and Luo Xiaoqian along the way. Knowing that she was embarrassed to mention this, he slapped her in the face so openly. To be on the safe side, Zhou Mikang signed up as an expert. Men were not allowed to enter. Zhou Mikang was blocked from outside, and Luo Xiaoqian accompanied Chu Xia in all the way. Her eyes were always on Chu Xia's belly. Now Chu Xia finally couldn't bear it anymore and pinched her hatefully. Stop looking, I want to major in gastroenterology. Luo Xiaoqian curled her lips and said nothing. The expert is a female doctor in her 50s, surnamed Fang, with a somewhat fierce face. She took Chu Xia's medical records and frowned slightly when she saw her age. Married, she looked up at Chu Xia and asked. Yet Chu Xia nodded quickly. My husband is waiting outside. How many days until your period is postponed? My cycle is usually 33-35 days. If you calculate it this way, it means there is no delay. I'm asking about the 28-day cycle. That's been 5 days of pushing, until today. Expert Fang grabbed Chu Xia's wrist and felt the pulse. Chu Xia looked at the instruments on the table with some confusion. Isn't this a Western doctor? After about a minute, Expert Fang let go of Chu Xia and motioned for her to stretch out her other wrist. At this moment, Chuxia was really nervous. Looking at this old expert, it didn't look like he was half-hearted. She had to think more about it if he was so cautious. After letting Chuxia go, Expert Fang wrote out an order and handed it to her, "Go get a urine test." Yes, Chuxia didn't dare to ask any more questions, and quickly took the order and small measuring cup from the other party, got up and walked out. The process of waiting for the test results was extremely confusing. Chuxia was nervous, Luo Xiaoxian was curious, and Zhou Mikang was anxious. At this age, of course he was looking forward to being a father. But the old expert was very strict and wouldn't tell him anything unless he was absolutely sure. If he asked, he would get it right and wait for the results of the urine test. Half an hour later, it was Zhou Mikang who went to get the results. When he came out of the laboratory, there was no expression on his face. This made Chuxia, who was staring at him, feel much more relaxed. If he really won the bid, he would definitely not be so indifferent. The moment her mouth opened, Zhou Mikang glanced at her lightly. "What result do you hope for?" "It's okay, any outcome is fine." Someone who was determined in his heart spoke with such boldness. Nodding, Zhou Mikang handed her the list. "Let's go and ask the experts if there is anything else that needs to be checked. I know all the issues to pay attention to, so you don't need to ask." The smile on Chuxia's face suddenly froze. Luo Xiaoxian's gaze was fixed on her belly, as if she wanted to see through it to see what was going on inside. Looking at the expressions of the two of them, Zhou Mikang's smile spread out. He said, "Young man, I think all those years of his service as a soldier were in vain. He is best at being indifferent to emotions and emotions, okay. Is the test correct?" Chuxia looked at Zhou Mikang with some uncertainty. "This is a county-level hospital. Is the technology not accurate enough? Or are you sure you didn't mix up the samples?" Zhou Mikang glared at her. "Do you think everyone in the hospital is stupid? How many people will die in a whole day? Let's go and ask Dr. Fang. She should be 80% sure about the pulse just now." "Xia, are you going to be a mother now?" On the way back, Luo Xiaoxian confirmed to Chuxia for the nth time. "Can you put it another way?" Chuxia gave her a disgusted look. "If you don't find it annoying, I'll find it annoying." "Hee hee." Luo Xiaoxian laughed. "I just don't get used to it. How can I say that becoming a mother means becoming a mother?" "Hee hee." Zhou Mikang glanced at her speechlessly. "Isn't it normal to get married and become a mother?" "It's normal, but Chuxia said that it will take a few years to have a child." "How come you have it so soon?" Luo Xiaoxian clicked her tongue twice and stopped. As an unmarried girl, she was already embarrassed to continue. Said. Chuxia was also full of questions, but now in front of Luo Xiaoxian, she couldn't judge Zhou Mixang, so she could only lean on the seat gloomily and pretend to be a beauty. Zhou Mikang glanced at her through the rearview mirror and smiled. "Be happy, Grandma, Grandpa and parents will be very happy to know this news." Chuxia rolled her eyes and was too lazy to pay attention to him. Zhou Mikang's expression straightened. "I know you don't want to be a mother yet, but the result is already like this, so you have to let nature take its course, right? Tell me, are you causing trouble?" Unable to hold back, Chuxia finally asked. Zhou Mikang had a dark line on his face. "Am I that kind of person? Whatever I promise you, I will definitely not go back on my word. You should trust me." Chuxia swallowed all the rest of the words. In front of Luo Xiaoxian, asking this question was already too much. If he said any more, everyone would be embarrassed. People of this era are extremely conservative in this regard. Even Luo Xiaoxian, who has a quirky personality, is blushing and drooping her head to install the background board. When the car drove into Dalan village, many people ran to the back of the village. Chuxia was undergoing psychological adjustment and completely ignored them. Luo Xiaoxian moved her mouth, but after looking at her face, she said nothing. As soon as the car stopped, Ms. Zhao came out and her first sentence was to ask about the results of the inspection. Chu Xia curled up and didn't know what to say. Zhou Mikang smiled and said, "Grandma, you are going to be a grandma." "Really?" Ms. Zhao's face immediately smiled like a blooming chrysanthemum. Her joy was strong and genuine from the heart. Before Zhou Mikang could answer, she had already ran towards the yard with her little feet, shouting, old man, old man." Zhou Mikang looked at Chu Xia. "How are you happy?" No, Chu Xia knew what he meant. Seeing her grandma so happy, she should be happy for the result. But in fact, she couldn't be happy at all now. Being a mother at the age of 18 was something she had never thought about. RL. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 676. Where are my parents? There was only Mr. Zhao and Ms. Zhao in the room. Chu Xia asked anxiously, "Did you go to third uncle's place?" "Xia, get on the con quickly, get on the con quickly." Ms. Zhao didn't bother to answer her words. She took her hand and led her to the con. "The con is hot. Xia is sitting on the con. Hurry up, Xiaoxian, you also sit on the con." Grandpa, did my parents go to my third uncle's place?" Helpless, Chu Xia had no choice but to ask again. "Xia, don't think about anything now, just take good care of yourself. Don't worry, your parents are accompanied by your uncle Gang Shun, your fat aunt, and Wen Bin." Chu Xia interrupted her anxiously, "Grandma, how could I not think about anything? Just tell me the details of our departure. Otherwise, how can I let go of my heart?" Looking at her granddaughter's anxious and red face, Ms. Zhao sighed helplessly, "You kid, why are you so impatient? Come up and sit down first, catch your breath, and drink some hot water, okay?" Chu Xia looked at Mr. Zhao. "Grandpa." Looking at the old lady, Mr. Zhao waved his hand helplessly, okay, Grandpa tells you, don't be anxious, okay? Look at you, you are already a mother, and you are so anxious and angry that you can't live in peace." Chu Xia looked at her grandpa with a blank look, wondering why this old couple suddenly turned into talkative people. "Forget it, I'll go out and watch by myself." People were running behind just now, probably to watch the fun. As she was about to get off the con, Ms. Zhao grabbed her and said, okay, I'll tell you. "I'll tell you everything now," he sighed at Mr. Zhao, "just tell me. Not long after you left, your sister-in-law came back and told your uncle that she had vacated a room for your third uncle and your grandparents to live there. How is that possible when 6 people live on one con, including the father-in-law and the daughter-in-law?" The whole family got into a fuss. Then, someone went to seek justice. "There are only 3 rooms for people to live in. Luo meant to let your eldest uncle and his wife live in one room with your grandparents and your brother-in-law and his family in one room. But your aunt's wife didn't agree with anything she said, saying she couldn't live with them. Her husband and her father-in-law live in the same room, and if she insists on doing that, she will crash to death." Even if she was making such a fuss, Luo couldn't say she was wrong. "But just those 3 rooms. There is another way. I really couldn't think of it, and then someone came up with an idea. Let your brother-in-law and his family move to your house, no matter what. You are all a family too." As soon as someone said this, a large number of people immediately agreed. There was no other way, so Luo had no choice but to find your parents to discuss it together. "I've been there for half an hour. Your mother was worried about you, so she asked your grandma and I to wait at home for you to come back and see what was going on." "Xia, don't worry, Luo will definitely not go that way, and Wenbin will follow, and the fat aunt is also there, your parents will definitely not suffer." Luo Xiaoxian snorted coldly, "Let me tell you, there must be something wrong with the fire. Otherwise, How could it not start the fire earlier and not start the fire later, but it caught fire now? It's so shameless. If someone says that this fire was an accident, I will never believe it, Chusia said as she got off the Kong. Grandma, Grandpa, I have to go and have a look, otherwise I won't worry. Jo Mikang stopped her. Think about it and know that there must be a lot of people there now. You should just stay at home honestly. I promise, I can definitely handle this matter. Zioxian, stay at home with her. Okay, Luo Zioxian, who was eager to try, had no choice but to respond with a stern voice and sat back. Chu Xia pushed her, go ahead and see what's going on first, then come back and talk to me. Good. This answer was obviously clearer, and Mrs. Zhao smiled helplessly. After Zhou Mixang and Luo Zioxian left, the old lady also raised her feet and said, Xia, Grandma will give you some brown sugar poached eggs to eat. Grandma, I'm not hungry at all now. Please rest peacefully for a while. You have to eat even if you're not hungry. You're not alone now, so you can't bend down. Your body is already weak, so you have to make up for it more than others. The old lady rambled and went to the main room, and Chu Xia also wanted to follow. When he got off the Kong, he was stopped by the old man. Xia, just stay here. Chu Xia's little face turned bitter. Grandpa, I used to be able to do anything, why can't I do anything now? It's okay, I know how my body is doing. Grandma is busy down there, how can I sit still? How unfilial do you have to be before you can calmly let your grandma take care of you? If you want me to serve my grandma and grandpa, that's pretty much it. Silly girl, Grandpa knows that you are filial, but the situation is different now. Obedient, you are the greatest filial piety to us by resting quietly now. Your parents may not be happy when they hear the news. You don't know, but this matter is a worry for them. Now, they can finally put their minds at ease. What's wrong with this? Chu Xia was speechless. Didn't I tell them before that I don't want children for the time being? Hey. Child, be happy. Why are you sighing at this great joy? Mr. Zhao raised the pipe rod to put cigarettes into the pot, but then he took it back and put it on the edge of the Kong, banging it. From now on, I won't smoke anymore. This is the best thing in the old man's life. She had told him how many times to quit before, but it was no use. Unexpectedly, she actually wanted to quit voluntarily now. This finally made Chu Xia feel a little happy. If it was because of her own early pregnancy can make Grandpa stop smoking, which is a good thing. 6 poached eggs were placed at the bottom of the bowl, and the soup with brown sugar was bright red. Chu Xia looked at it and felt worried. Is this a rhythm that would overwhelm her? Grandma. Eat quickly, eat it while it's hot, this is the most nutritious, the old lady urged. Grandma, there are too many, I really can't eat them, Chu Xia said with an embarrassed look. Eat as much as you can, and let your grandpa eat the rest. The old man agreed happily, yeah, I'll eat the rest. Eggs with brown sugar are really not what Chu Xia likes. However, considering that the old lady has been busy for a long time at such an old age, Chu Xia has to make do with it. Fortunately, although she doesn't like the taste very much, it is not difficult to eat. However, when you are not hungry, it is really not a happy thing to eat something you don't particularly like. After finally stuffing 2 eggs into your stomach and taking a few more mouthfuls of soup, Chu Xia put down the spoon. Grandma, Grandpa, I'm so full, I really can't eat any more. Eat so little, Mrs. Zhao looked disappointed. No wonder you just can't gain weight. How can you put on some meat with this amount of food? Okay, don't force the child. If she doesn't want to eat, don't force her. If she gets injured, it won't be easy. Mr. Zhao said and brought the bowl to the old lady. You can eat it. Eat as much as you like, and I'll eat the rest. There were 4 more in the bowl. If she didn't eat them all and let the old man eat them, he probably wouldn't have to eat at lunch, so the old lady picked up the bowl and ate too. The three grandfathers and grandsons had just finished eating a bowl of eggs when Logoziokshan came back. Her face was flushed, and she didn't know whether she was running, anxious or excited. Take a sip of hot water. Mrs. Zhao quickly handed her the water glass in front of her face. I just poured this, I haven't drank it yet. Thank you. Grandma Logoziokshan took the cup and drank it down, then looked at Chuxia narrowly. Guess, what's going on? Chuxia was so angry that she slapped her in the face. Okay, stop showing off, don't you just come back to tell us what's going on. Hee hee. After laughing to herself for a while, Logoziokshan said, aren't you wondering about old man Lin and old Mrs. Lin never looking for trouble or pretending to be pitiful? In fact, that's what happened. Chun Ni years ago at that time, she gave Chukyu an ultimatum, she could not be a worker, and she would marry Lin Chukyu if her house was built with red bricks and tiles. Lin Chukyu discussed with old man Lin and Mrs. Lin, either to help him find a place as a worker, or to let his family move to this house. But Lin Chukyu's performance last time chilled the heart of old man Lin and old Mrs. Lin, and they knew that they had offended Uncle Baohe quite a lot before. If they made such a fuss again this time, it would be impossible not to tell whether it would be successful or not. If their friendship was completely gone, then when they encountered difficulties in the future and wanted to ask for help from Uncle Baohe, they would have no chance. Therefore, they did not agree to Lin Chukyu's request. Didn't Lin Chukyu come over all the time to inquire about the news? He also heard other people's comments. Then, seeing that Chennai was about to return to the city, he had evil thoughts and thought about burning down his house. Uncle Baohe definitely couldn't ignore it. It was unlucky for him. When he went to the back of the house to set fire, he met Uncle Zhong. When the fire started, he stood there and watched, and was seen by Chen Guangxin again. When we were putting out the fire last night, we didn't even have time to interrogate him. As soon as the commotion started today, Uncle Zhong and Chen Guangxin came forward to speak. Then Chu Chun also confirmed that when he woke up in the middle of the night last night, he didn't see Chukyu. This opened the door, and they themselves said what I said before. When we went there, many people felt that old man Lin and old Mrs. Lin were quite pitiful and wanted your father to take care of them. As for your third uncle's family, just let them stay with your uncle. Fortunately, brother Lin was here, so he told everyone what happened in detail, and asked everyone whether the behavior of old man Lin and old Mrs. Lin back then was considered a favor or an enmity. Then, the group leader and I went there. Your group leader was more efficient in solving the problem. He stopped there directly and said, it's okay to raise them. We need to go to the bureau first and settle the previous murder case. You can imagine that as soon as these words came out, how dare old man Lin and old Mrs. Lin have any ideas? Now, they are discussing building a thatched hut outside your uncle's courtyard for your third uncle and his family to live in. The one you lived in originally will be for old man Lin and old Mrs. Lin. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 678. Chapter 652. Mr. Zhao picked up the pipe and pot, banged it on the edge of the Kong, and said with a proud look on his face, let me just say, Xiaomi is an unusual kid. He doesn't panic when things happen, and he can still grasp the idea immediately. This my kid has a lot of potential. Look at you like that. Mrs. Zhao looked at him funny, no matter how good it is, it's not your choice. Why are you so proud? You can't say that. If I don't go to Yuan Bao's house to help, and Chu Xia doesn't go to me, he won't be able to see us, Chu Xia, right? Then it won't work, right? You are not so old that you are confused, and you are making up nonsense. At that time, it was clearly Kiwi who wanted to be a soldier, and Chuxia accompanied Kiwi to find Xiaomi. How come it was Chuxia who went to find you? If I wasn't there, could Chuxia go? Mr. Zhao said while looking at Chuxia. Xia, tell me, if Grandpa wasn't there, would you and your sister have the guts to go there? Chuxia hurriedly said, I don't have the guts, I don't have the guts. Grandpa is not there. How can we have the courage to make trouble? It's only because we know that Grandpa is backing us that we can go there confidently. Mrs. Zhao shook her head in a funny way. Xia, just follow your grandfather's lead and give him more noodles. The more you talk about it, the more he takes the credit for himself. Xia smiled and hugged the old lady's arm. Grandma, what Grandpa said is the truth. This child. Mrs. Zhao poked her granddaughter on the forehead with a look of helplessness on her face. You, just spoil him. What are you talking about? Mr. Zhao glared at his wife. I'm not a child, how can you say you're spoiling me? I'm just having fun. You're just talking and playing with your children, look at you like that. Does it make you feel uncomfortable when your child says something nice to me? Okay, okay. I was wrong. Thanks to you, our Xia found such a good son-in-law. It's all your credit. It's all your credit. Looking at your attitude, it's not sincere at all. The old man said and laughed to himself, forget it, I won't mess around with you anymore, let the children see the joke. Early summer. Luoziokshan. Looking at the blank expressions on the faces of the two juniors. Old Mrs. Zhao laughed, the older this old man gets, the more he behaves like a child, and he likes to make fun. He looked annoyed just now, right? I tell you. If I don't follow him, he will really get annoyed, but if I do, he will be embarrassed to take the credit. Look at you. Mr. Zhao glared at the old lady dissatisfied, got up and got off the Kong. You guys wait at home, I'll go out for a walk. The old lady frowned and stopped him. You're so old, why are you wandering around? If someone walks on you, why would you regret it? I'm not as useless as you say. I helped put out the fire last night, and no one bothered me. Even though I'm so strong, you call me sick. The old man muttered and walked out the door, and the old lady shook her head helplessly. This guy has this problem. He doesn't accept old age at all. He thinks that he is the same as a young man who is 20 years old all day long. Chuxia quickly smoothed things over. Grandma, Grandpa has something in mind. Yesterday you said you wouldn't let him come forward, so he was just outside helping to coordinate. He can listen to you. I know. The old lady smiled. I'm not really worried, it's just that he is very worried when he refuses to accept it. Luoziokshan smiled and answered, that means Grandpa has a childish heart. With such a character, he must live a long life. You too. Old Mrs. Zhao shook her head helplessly. Let you two talk about it, does he still have any merit? That's necessary. Chuxia fawned and took the old lady's arm. Grandma, let's go take a look, okay? Just stand outside and don't squeeze in, okay? In fact, the old lady also wanted to know the results of the development so far. After a little hesitation, she agreed, but she repeatedly emphasized that Chuxia was not allowed to crowd into crowded places. As a result, as soon as the three of them got off the Kong, Lin Baohe, Zhao Yulan, Zhou Mikang, and Lin Wenbin came back. Don't you see Grandpa? Chuxia asked. No, your grandpa went too. Zhao Yulan looked at the old lady with a puzzled look. Mom, didn't Dad say he was unwilling to join in? Don't worry about you guys. He went to join in the fun just now. Don't worry, he is such an adult, nothing will happen to him. He will definitely be back soon. You guys should sit down and have a rest and drink some water. Chuxia has been there all the time. I'm anxious. The old lady looked at her daughter and son-in-law's expressions and knew that they must not know about Chu Xia's pregnancy yet. She was afraid that they would be too excited all of a sudden and she would swallow the words that came to her lips. Now people in the village are helping to build thatched houses. Lin Baohai's family lives in thatched houses, and old man Lin and Mrs. Lin live in the west room of Lin Baojiang's house. At this point, Zhou Mikong paused and continued, in early summer, you can't bear any fuss now, so I am determined not to let them live at home. My parents may feel a little uncomfortable, but I insist on doing this. Yet Chu Xia responded without saying anything else. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe were stunned and understood immediately. Xia. Zhao Yulan stood up excitedly. The result of the examination is, I am going to be a grandma, and your father is going to be a grandpa. Yes, Chu Xia responded again, her face slightly red. This matter was really embarrassing for her. Even including that time and space, she was only 23 years old. Baohe. Zhao Yulan turned to look at Lin Baohe. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Lin Baohe didn't know what to do except nod his head. Lin Wenbin's expression was also a little exciting. He was going to be an uncle. This was a very happy thing. However, thinking about the pain that his sister would have to endure in the next period of time, he felt very distressed. For a girl who is only 18 years old, isn't it too early? But even if he thought so at the moment, he didn't dare to really say it. He knew that the elders had been looking forward to this day for a long time. If he really said such words, it would be a disappointment, so he had to look at Zhou Mikang. Brother-in-law, you must love my sister even more from now on. That's for sure. Zhou Mikang nodded repeatedly, and then retorted dissatisfiedly, what you said is a bit redundant. When did I stop loving Chu Xia? Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe finally calmed down. Xiaomi, the result must be okay, right? Lin Baohe looked at Zhou Mixang and asked. Dad, no problem, absolutely no problem. That's good, that's good. Have you told your family yet? No, Zhou Mikang shook his head. I said now that my grandparents, parents, etc. can run over immediately. After thinking about it, I'd better go back and tell them. Yes, yes. Zhao Yulan nodded repeatedly. My relatives must also be worried about this matter. If they knew this, they might be very nervous. By the way, the doctor didn't tell me, and now I have to sit in the car for a long time. Any questions? On our way back, we will drive for 2 hours to rest and move around. Anyway, there are 2 cars. Open the long seats at the back and spread out quilts for Chu Xia to lie on them. Then he will not be so tired. Stop, stop, stop. Chu Xia looked at the 2 of them with a dark look. Can you stop talking about me like a seriously disabled patient? Mom, you were still working in the fields when you were pregnant with me, so I'm not doing the same. Are you healthy? Zhao Yulan said anxiously, that's different. You are weak, so you don't dare to do that to my mother. Mrs. Zhao also echoed, yes, Xia, your body and bones are not comparable to your mother's, so you have to be careful. Besides, your body was not generally weak when you were a child. How can you say you are healthy? And your mother, if the disease hadn't been caused when she gave birth to you, she wouldn't have given birth to you alone. Now when it's cloudy and rainy, her legs and feet are so sore. These are all diseases caused during confinement. Grandma told you that you have the conditions now, but you can't be careless. You must take good care of yourself and your child's health. Mom, it's all because you gave birth to me that you suffered so much. Chu Xia looked at Zhao Yulan with a distressed look on her face. Mom, I will be filial to you and my father in my life. This child, why do you still say that the boss is here? Zhao Yulan fondly touched her daughter's head. You are being filial. Mom and Dad have seen it, and Xiaomi is also filial. This is the blessing of mom and dad. Dad. Chu Xia looked at Lin Baohe. Aren't you feeling comfortable because you didn't let your grandparents come to live at home? No, I'm not uncomfortable. Lin Baohe quickly waved his hands. At that time, just seeing them crying made me feel a little sad. Now that I think about it, when they did those things back then, they didn't feel any regret at all. What am I so sad about? If it weren't for them, your body wouldn't be so weak, and your mother wouldn't be at the root of her illness. Xia, Xiaomi, don't worry, I will never meddle in their affairs again. Chu Xia sighed and asked, are my sister-in-law, uncle, and Xiao Xiang still there? Lin Baohe nodded. Well, they have to help build the thatched house. They can't ignore it. After all, they are their own daughters. If they hide far away, someone will poke their spines. I know. Chu Xia nodded. I just think that the old couple must put pressure on them. It's hard for my sister-in-law and uncle to be caught in the middle. Don't worry, your sister-in-law won't fall for their tricks. Zhao Yulan is not worried about this. Don't look at your sister-in-law who has been tolerant to her mother-in-law. She has nothing to say to the old couple. Otherwise, go up. I can't tell you your father's life experience this time. Just help your sister-in-law more when it's convenient for you in the future. To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 679. Lin Baojuan, Luan Qingshu, and Luan Xiaoxiang hadn't come back before noon. Lin Baohe felt a little restless. He felt sorry for his sister and didn't eat much at breakfast. By now, he must be hungry. A fire burned all the belongings of Lin Baohai's family, and Lin Baojiang had to help take care of the food out of favor, which was probably sweet potato leaf and bran pancakes. How could a strong man who had been working for a long time be able to sustain himself by eating that food? Zhao Yulan saw what he was thinking and winked at him quietly. She didn't want him to worry about it anymore and make her daughter and son-in-law unhappy. How could Chu Xia and Zhou Mikang not see the couple's flirtations? Chu Xia, who knew Lin Baohe's character very well, also knew why Lin Baohe was troubled, so she deliberately kept silent, wanting to see how long her father could hold it in. However, Lin Baohe, who originally had the guts to mention it, gave up the idea completely after being glared at by his wife. He just said he wouldn't worry about it, and then he made such a request again in the blink of an eye. Who would believe him anymore? I've been very tired this morning. The fat ant entered the room, sat down on the kong, and started breathing heavily. Mom, why are you so tired? Luo Xiaoxian looked at her doubtfully. You are also going to build a thatched house? How can you be used to do that work with so many strong laborers? Go, go, go. The fat ant waved her hand at her daughter in disgust. Do you need to worry about building a thatched hut? It was your father who asked me to take a few wives to go to the brigade house to look for food. Although Chu Chiu himself started the fire, a big family always needs to eat, and your father cannot ignore it in his position. Besides, if your father doesn't care and assigns it to the villagers in the village, it will definitely cause a lot of complaints. Ti Xiang, Firm, and Shun are all for us. Zhao Yulan looked at her with a grateful face. Otherwise, this matter would have attracted us. Yulan, you can't say that. It's not your turn to take care of this matter. Those who are trying to attract people are just chickens and like to be jealous. You said that originally you were the poorest people in the village. When you were kicked out, you didn't even have a place to live. But now, your daughter has found such a good husband's family and built such a magnificent red brick building. Room, aren't you just jealous? Hot eyes are hot eyes, but we are not afraid of anyone's theory on this matter. To be honest, you are already being extremely lenient if you don't hold the old couple accountable for what they did back then. What else do they want? That's what they say, but many people don't think so. Zhao Yulan sighed. Even if everyone stood there and listened clearly today and couldn't say anything at the time, they will still say something wrong about us later. You don't care what they say, the fat ant glared at her, you just live your own life when others say what others say. If they say it for a while, they won't get any benefit, so they will stop talking about it. It's just. Mr. Zhao looked at his daughter and son-in-law, you two, you just care too much about what other people think and say. Let me tell you, the more you care, the more disgusted they will be with you. If you don't care about anything, they themselves will, it just feels boring. The fat ant gave a thumbs up, uncle, you can see clearly. Mr. Zhao looked proud, of course, do you think your uncle and I have lived in vain all these years? You really don't praise me enough. Ms. Zhao rolled her eyes at him, the older you get, the more shameless you become. Mr. Zhao looked at his daughter and said, let's make lunch. I'm not very hungry in the summer. Zhao Yulan responded, turned around and went to the main room. Seeing the confusion on my mother's face, Luo Xiaoxian said with a smile, Mom, there is good news that you don't know yet. We are going to be a mother in early summer. What? Fat Ant looked at Chu Xia with wide eyes. Xia, I can't believe what Mei Ying said. Can you tell Auntie again? Chu Xia smiled and nodded at her. God opens your eyes, God opens your eyes. The fat ant whirled to the main room. Yulan, you and Baohe are so blessed. We are going to be grandma and grandpa soon. Gang Shun and I don't know when. I can have grandchildren. Luo Xiaoxian stroked her forehead speechlessly. She wasn't married yet. Could her mother stop thinking so much? Mrs. Zhao smiled and answered, Cha Xiang, if you and Gang Shun are willing, we can immediately arrange marriage arrangements for the two children. After a short silence, the fat ant came in with a smile, and, I want to have grandchildren as soon as possible, but my brother is not married yet, so my sister will get married first. Isn't it bad? What's wrong with this? Hunky has a wife anyway. Why don't you just do it together, one in and one out, Mrs. Zhao said matter-of-factly. Mr. Zhao slapped his hands fiercely, I think this is a good idea. Tea is fragrant. This way you can hug your grandson and your grandson again at once. How lively, right? The fat ant felt like she was digging a hole to bury herself. She was very happy to marry her son now, but she was really reluctant to marry her daughter off later. Look, I scare you. Old Mrs. Zhao laughed, to tease you, knowing that Xiaoxian is young, you are still reluctant to let go, so we have agreed to follow your and Gang Shun's opinions. When you two are willing to let her go, we will set a date for the two young people to arrange their marriage. Anyway, you know the temperament of our family. You will definitely treat Xiaoxian as your own daughter. After you get married, you can let her go. 100 hearts is enough. I know, I know. The fat ant nodded repeatedly, I wasn't worried at all when Xiaoxian was married. I just felt that when my son married a daughter-in-law, the only one closest to his heart would be her. If this were the case, my daughter also got married at the same time, and I didn't even have the time to slow down, so my heart was a bit lost. Old Mrs. Zhao laughed at her, my mother-in-law, my daughter-in-law hasn't even come in yet. She's already sore. Do you think you can be more successful? You should think so. If your son marries a daughter-in-law, you'll be half rich again. You have a daughter, and when your daughter gets married, you gain half a son. What a wonderful thing, and you can't get rid of it while you're still there. The fat ant smiled sheepishly, Auntie, the truth is so reasonable, but I can't understand it as clearly as I thought at once. Luo Xiaoxian, who was helping Zhao Yulan in the main room, stuck her head out into the room and stuck out her tongue at her mother, then quickly retracted. The fat ant took the opportunity to chase her daughter into the hall and said, You naughty kid, how can you be so shameless? Chu Xia smiled at Mrs. Zhao, Grandma, don't worry, Xiaoxian, my granddaughter-in-law, can't run away. I'll keep an eye on you. Grandma, of course, don't worry. Isn't this just to tease your fat aunt? Mrs. Zhao laughed and shook her head. Even if she is willing to let Xiaoxian marry now, we can't accept it. Xiaoxian happens to be developing well. When the time comes, we can't miss her, we must let her settle down before getting married and having children. Chu Xia gave her a thumbs up. Grandma is so open-minded. Lin Wenbin, who was chatting with Zhou Mikang over there, poked at the other person. Did you hear that? My grandma is still open-minded. Unlike you, you only care about your own ideas and don't make any plans for early summer. Zhou Mikang was speechless. As soon as the test results came out, my wife suspected that it was him. But with all his conscience, he really didn't do any tricks. He always felt that his wife was a little too young, so he didn't have to rush to have children, but how could he have known that he would win the bid? He thought about this matter over and over again, and finally came to the conclusion that the quality of that thing was too poor. But he couldn't explain these reasons to others in detail. He could only listen to what others said honestly. Lin Baojuan and his family did not come back until lunch was ready, so Zhao Yulan left rice in the pot for them. Lin Bao he knew that the village had prepared food for his third brother and his family, so he stopped worrying about it. His sister and his family were hungry. He would come back to make up for it later. Why should he stretch his head and end up with people making excuses? After thinking about it, his expression became visibly relaxed. This meal was the most tiring for Chu Xia. Everyone was giving her food, and she really felt a little overwhelmed. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Lin Baojuan and Luan Qingsha Xiaoxiang came back, both with gray hair and faces. Zhao Yulan quickly gave them water to wash up, and then took out the steamed buns and vegetables from the pot. It's still warm, come over and eat quickly. Aunt, you are so kind. Luan Xiaoxiang swallowed and said, during lunch, I originally wanted to eat more pancakes, but my aunt glared at me and scared me, so I didn't dare to eat any more. My father and my mother also ate a small pancake, probably just to stuff it in their stomachs. Lin Baojuan shook her head helplessly. This kid is exaggerating more and more. Luan Xiaoxiang used her hand to mark half the size of the mouth of the bowl. I'm not exaggerating. The pancake is so big and as thin as a layer of paper. Even if you are strong enough to eat 10 of them, you won't be full. The eldest aunt simply did it on purpose. She was embarrassed not to make the pancakes when the team brought them noodles, but she didn't want everyone to eat more, so she deliberately made the pancakes so small and big. Did she think everyone was just a house bird? My dad must not have had enough to eat either. Luo Xiaoxian looked at the fat aunt. Mom, my dad who loves to worry will definitely not be back for a while. I think you should give him some food. Zhao Yulan came in carrying a big baggage and handed it to the fat aunt. I heard Xiaoxiang said that and already guessed that she wasn't even full. Hey, take these steamed buns and give them to the helpers. They have done a lot of work. What's the point of being hungry again? Then I shouldn't let you take care of the food, fat aunt said while pushing Zhao Yulan. I made a pot last night, I'll go back and get it. Zhao Yulan grabbed her forcefully. Why are you so polite to me? Seeing the fat aunt looking at herself, Chu Xia guessed that she didn't want to be angry with her mother, so she smiled and said, Fat aunt, you are the most suitable person to do this. You are the secretary's wife, and you care about what everyone said about the past. If members of our family go, it will be troublesome if that big family relies on us in the future. Ours. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 680. BABA, this chapter is updated for you. I originally updated it yesterday, but after reading your message, I will use this update to make up for it. Thinking about what Chu Xia said, she made sense, so the fat aunt stopped refusing and walked out the door carrying a bag of steamed buns. Luo Xiaoxian raised her foot and chased her out. Mom, I'll go with you. As she spoke, She took the hand from her hand. Lee grabbed the steamed buns, and the fat ant glared at her. Is my mother that useless in your eyes? Luo Xiaoxian smiled mischievously. No, no, I'm not doing this for my mother's prestige. It's just that I'm not at home. When I'm at home, my mother has to act like a secretary's wife. Go, go, go. The fat ant poked her daughter helplessly. Your father's title is not even a sesame official. Mom is really showing off, and you won't be laughed to death. Mom, you can't say that. Although my father is not a big official, he is more important to the people in the village than the governor and mayor. Think about it, if someone with bad intentions were to sit in this position. Is there anything the villagers can do to survive? The fat ant liked what her daughter said, so she smiled and agreed. Well, when it comes to character, your father has nothing to say. Except for the small subsidies that should be given to him, our family has no glory at all. That is, apart from Grandpa Dagong, my father is the only one with the most prestige in the village. If your father doesn't have prestige, the villagers won't be able to elect him as secretary, right? That's right, that's why I said that mother should show off her airs as a secretary's wife. We are not doing it to put on airs, but to deal with the problem easily. Think about it, if the aunt and sister-in-law of Uncle Lin's family insist on grabbing the steamed buns, will you stop it or not? You said you should stop it, because it would be a shame to have a steamed bun, but you said you shouldn't stop it. This is not for them to eat, is it? But it's okay if I do it. I'm a junior anyway, so they just have the nerve to break up with me. Hearing her daughter change the topic again, the fat ant looked helpless. It's just such a small matter, do you need to talk to my mother about it? Are you really a stupid mother? Aren't you just afraid that my mother will be embarrassed? Let them make a profit. I said, you are really looking down on your mother and me. What am I embarrassed about? The elderly brothers in their family should contribute their efforts. Moreover, I sent them food, why didn't they make enough food? Now if they have the nerve to join in the fun, I will have the nerve to knock their paws off. If the secretary's wife is not elegant, I know that there is no way to take advantage of me. Luo Xiaoxian quickly gave her thumbs up. Mom, you are a hero among women. Okay. Stop flattering me. You just wronged my mother and you really let her down. I was wrong, mother. In fact, I am just a little worried. The most important thing is that I still want to reduce your burden and prevent you from complaining. I went to the army side, but I couldn't hear anything here, but mom and dad have to stay in the village every day. If they listen to other people's irresponsible remarks, they will definitely be upset, right? You kid. She sighed softly, and the fat ant caressed her daughter's shoulder. Looking at your appearance now, my mother is getting more and more relieved. Compared with the stupid look before, my mother is much more relieved. But Xiaoxian, no matter when the time comes, you must remember that you are where you are today because of others. No matter whether you are doing better or worse than others, you must not forget your roots. Mom, I know, and besides, Chu Xia will definitely be no worse than me. She is smart, has many ideas, is good at studying, and with such a husband, she truly has a bright future. Even if she is pregnant and has a baby now, she is still young and will soon catch up with her. Besides, she can only train less and attend more classes during this period. By the way, Xia has been admitted to medical university in advance. Did I tell you? The fat ant nodded. I told you when I went there last time. Originally, she could just take the exam, but in this case, she would have to attend more classes at school and then go back to the hospital for internship after giving birth to the child. However, this is the normal path that others take, and it does not delay her at all. Anyway, the longer I stay with her, the more I feel that she is not simple. Sometimes I wonder, how come she, who was so ignorant before, suddenly seems to be a different person? If I had never been separated from her, I would have suspected that she had been tricked. This child, it's nonsense. If I change the package, how can I still change my appearance? The fat ant looked at her daughter funny. What's there to be puzzled about? Every child has a period of being particularly disobedient, especially the ones who are more spoiled children. However, the child of a poor person has long been in charge. When she becomes sensible, she will naturally become a different person. Do you still have the nerve to say that Xia has forgotten your own disobedient things? He. Luo Xiaoqing smiled sheepishly. She was bold enough to secretly change her name without saying anything else. She just relied on the fact that her parents were not patriarchal and wanted to let girls from other families go. If you dare to do this, you will be beaten to death, and you will have to change your name. The two of them chatted and chatted until they arrived at the gate of Lin Beijiang's house. When the village was demarcating homesteads, it was a standard 5-room house. There was an open space in front of the yard, which was used as a yard in autumn and summer, and thatched houses were built in the yard. It was used for temporary transition. When the house was renovated, Lin Baohai and his family would naturally move back. If Lin Chuqiu hadn't started the fire, the brigade would definitely find a way to free up warehouses for them to live in. But in the current situation, it would be a huge honor to have someone to help them build thatched huts. Most of the helpers had gone home, and only a few brigade cotters were still busy. Luo Xiaoqing stepped forward to say hello one by one, and then asked everyone to wash their hands and come over for dinner. Of course Secretary Luo was happy that his wife and daughter did such a shameful thing. He waved his hand and said, "Eat first, eat first. I guess everyone has their own concerns, right? It's true, I'm so hungry that I'm sweating. Me too, I'm feeling terribly flustered. I'm just thinking that when I finish my work, I'll go home and rest. I'm too hungry to talk." The fat ant looked at her husband with a dark look. "Have you eaten or not?" Luo Gangshun shook his head with a wry smile, turned around and went to wash his hands in the yard. Yang Aihua came over with an unnatural look on his face and said gratefully, "Sister-in-law, thank you and the secretary so much. Thanks to the secretary for taking care of our family, now you are like this again, we. Lin Baohai, who happened to come over, quickly picked up, "Our family will definitely behave well in the future and will not disgrace the secretary." Luo Xiaoqing, who was standing aside, was confused. Whether they behaved well or not, what did it have to do with her father? Xiaoqing is really getting more and more beautiful as she grows older. People say that women have undergone a major transformation, and it is absolutely true. Yang Aihua directed the compliment to Luo Xiaoqing again. If you want to make someone happy, you must praise his children. Just like now, the fat ant, who was still lukewarm towards Yang Aihua, is already smiling from the corners of her mouth to her ears. After everyone washed their hands, they came out to get a steamed bun each with salted radish strips. It was so delicious that Lin Baohai and Yang Aihua gulped, but they didn't have the nerve to join in the fun. Everyone was here to help them, but they didn't. They have already felt bad enough to let others eat. It would be really shameless if they went to grab food with others now. Even if they had objections to the actions of their eldest brother's family, they didn't dare to say anything. During this period, they really had to rely on their eldest brother to survive. Even if they build a thatched house and use water for cooking, they still have to stay with the eldest brother's family. If this really offends them, they won't even be able to eat. As for the grain they brought in was discounted by Zheng Sanqiao, they could only accept it. They wanted to take advantage of the convenience of someone else's house without paying for it. Is that possible? Of course, if it was the second brother's house, it should be possible. Unfortunately, it was not the second brother who had been tormented by them. Thinking of this, Lin Baohai sighed heavily and suddenly felt no longer hungry. Fat Ant and Luo Xiaoqing were both soft-hearted. If the couple really reached out to take it, they might not be willing to give it to them, but seeing them like this now, they really couldn't stand it anymore. Third uncle and 3 aunt, you haven't had enough yet, have you? Luo Xiaoxiang said, handing 2 steamed buns to the couple. Actually, Uncle Baohe's family made these and asked us to deliver them. Is it the second brother and the second sister-in-law? Lin Baohai's eyes suddenly lit up. Really, the second brother and the second sister-in-law? Luo Xiaoxiang secretly thought that it was not good. In fact, she just didn't want to take away the credit from others, so she mentioned it intentionally. She also didn't want Lin Baohai's family to misunderstand that Lin Baohe really didn't care about them. But seeing Lin Baohai's current appearance, she was a little worried. Well, if this makes Lin Baohai's mind active, she will really do bad things with good intentions. As soon as her daughter's words came out, the fat aunt was helpless. At this moment, she had no choice but to ask politely, "What, you still want to go to your second brother and sister-in-law's place?" "No, no," Lin Baohai waved his hands repeatedly, "I don't want to search, I just feel that what we did before was so shameful, and the second brother and second sister-in-law still pretended to be us. I was very touched. They don't want to be moved by you. Just say less bad things about them." "Oh, sister-in-law, are you and Xiaoxiang here? I heard a voice that sounded like yours, so I hurried out to greet you. I didn't expect that it was really you. This time I lived in the city, my sister-in-law's face has become whiter and tenderer. It seems that the water and soil in the city are great." As soon as the fat aunt finished speaking, Zheng Sanqiao came out with Xuan'er in her arms. He looked at the fat aunt with an exaggerated expression, but his eyes squinted at the bundle in Luo Xiaoxiang's hand. "Rs. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 681. An update has arrived. Fengguo Literature Network. "Xia, does this make you feel uncomfortable?" Grandpa Lin looked at Chu Xia and asked with a smile. "Yes." After answering without hesitation, Chu Xia added, "However, I understand why Grandpa and Grandma do this." "Do you really understand?" "Yes." "Silly boy, you actually don't understand." The old man sighed and turned his gaze to Zhou Mikang. "Xiao Zhou, can you understand?" "I can understand it, but I can't accept it." Zhou Mikang looked at him indifferently. "All the reasons are from your perspective, but they do not consider the feelings of my father-in-law and mother-in-law. As a large and important family in the capital, there is nothing wrong with you doing this. However, my father-in-law and mother-in-law did not grow up in this kind of family, so it is difficult to truly understand your actions. There is nothing wrong with maximizing interests, but it is a bit chilling to think about it. Your attitude this time is obviously different from the last time. No matter what the reason is, anyway, you are swayed. This is the fact that I see. I don't want to say more about the rest. From my perspective, it is not convenient to say too much." "Hey," he sighed heavily, and Uncle Lin smiled bitterly, "I understand, if it were me, I wouldn't be able to accept it." However, Baohe finally recognized his ancestors and returned to the clan, and stayed at home for a few more days to get along with relatives. "It's necessary to stay for a while. Stay here peacefully. I owe you an explanation, and I will give you an explanation. But not now. Mr. Lin, there is actually no need to make it like this. No matter what your difficulties are, you might as well tell them. It will make you use this method to test my father-in-law and my mother-in-law's family during the Chinese New Year. What else can't be said? They are all reasonable people. As long as they stand on the side of reason, they will definitely understand. Moreover, if you don't say it, it will make them feel more uncomfortable. If you really say it, it will be better for everyone. Certainly. I'm not forcing you to speak out, I'm just discussing the matter. Sometimes, you think it's for the other person's good, but that's not necessarily the case. No matter what happens to the Lin family in Beijing, my father-in-law and mother-in-law will not be too involved, nor will they get much benefit, so let them know. So why not? If it's inconvenient because I'm here, I can dodge it, but don't worry, I will never have any inappropriate opinions about the Lin family in Beijing because of this matter. Chu Xia glanced at Zhou Mikang gratefully. She knew very well how precious his words were, and he was just talking in such a long way just to make her parents feel better. Almost predictable. After this time, Lin Baohe will probably never come to the Lin family in the capital again. But if the uncle's family did this for Lin Baohe's good, things will come to light later. Lin Baohe will definitely regret it. Grandpa Lin hesitated for a moment and looked at Lin Zhiling. Seeing that the other person also had a hesitant look on his face, he sighed, "Let's finish this matter here first, okay?" He said this while looking at Lin Baohe. "Uncle, you make the decision," Lin Baohe said. "This is how it is between people. Once there is a gap, it becomes less comfortable to get along with each other. Everyone who had become familiar with each other last time is obviously a little more distant this time." During lunch, everyone was forced to smile, which was different from the laughter last time. Chu Xia understood that something must have happened to the Lin family in Beijing. Otherwise, everyone's attitude wouldn't be like this, or her words at that time were a little hurtful. But she couldn't explain it until the matter was understood. So, simply stay silent. But getting along like this was boring, and she wanted to go back in early summer. It was not convenient for Zhou Mikang to express her opinion on this matter, so she went to Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan to discuss it. The two went back to the room to take a lunch break. They couldn't sleep. They were sitting there in a daze when they heard a knock on the door. Zhao Yulan hurried to open the door. When she saw it was her daughter, she smiled unconsciously. "Why don't you go to bed?" "Mom, I want to go home." Chu Xia looked at Lin Baohe again. "Dad, let's go back, okay?" "Xia, can you hold on for 2 days?" Chu Xia knew that her father would answer like this, "Dad, why do you insist?" The ceremony of recognizing ancestors and returning to the clan was so grand. Everyone knows that your uncle has found the flesh and blood left behind by the Lin family. If you can't see us when you look back, you must think more about it. Your uncle has his difficulties, even if we can't help him, and we can't cause any more trouble for him. Listen to Dad, we will definitely leave in 2 days. If there is still no other way to say it by then, Dad promises you that you will never come to the Lin family in the capital again. Okay, Chu Xia was actually very angry, so she was so anxious to persuade her father to go back. When she came here just now, her thoughts had faded. When Lin Baohe said this, she felt that she was too impulsive. If it was really the uncle who was in trouble, with her father's character, he would feel guilty and unable to forgive himself for the rest of his life. Forget it, it's only 2 days, just keep going. Father, Mom, once you've decided, stop thinking about it. Take a nap peacefully. You have a lot of relatives to meet in the afternoon. I guess you have almost forgotten about it, right? Zhao Yulan smiled bitterly. It's easy for so many people to recognize us. How can it be so easy for us to recognize so many people at once? If we call it wrong, it will make people laugh again. Hey. It's okay, they are not stupid, how can they choose such a reason? If you don't believe it, let them go to our village for 2 days and see if they can recognize everyone who has been there and call them right. Chu Xia burst into laughter. Her father was so calm and decisive as everyone else. Zhao Yulan gave her husband a helpless look. It would be great if everyone thought like you. Forget it, I still have a vague impression. Besides, Uncle should remind us. I believe this. My uncle is really close to you. My mother-in-law may have something else in mind. Forget it, no one has such perfect things. I don't want to think about it anymore. Xia, you go back to sleep. Come and call us when you get up. Well, you guys want to sleep too? Chu Xia waved her paw, turned around and left the house. She happened to see Lin Wenjie coming from the corner and faced her face to face. She blushed unconsciously. Chu Xia, haven't you slept yet? Chu Xia smiled at him. No, why didn't you sleep? I'm not sleepy. The boy blushed even more. Chu Xia nodded and walked to her room. Early summer, Lin Wenjie shouted. What's wrong? Chu Xia looked back at him. What's the matter? Third brother, just tell me. It's nothing happened. After hesitating, Lin Wenjie added, there's just a little bit of matter, let's go to the yard and talk, okay? Okay, Chu Xia responded happily and followed him downstairs to the greenhouse in the yard. This is a glass room built on the left side of the yard. There are some beautiful flowers planted in it. Although it is winter, they are in full bloom. Neither of them had any intention of admiring the beautiful scenery. They went straight to the small table in the right corner of the conservatory and sat down. Immediately, a servant made tea and brought it over. Lin Wenjie waved to her, Mama Li, you can go and have a rest. We can do it ourselves. Yes, third young master. The woman known as Li Ma took 2 steps back, turned around and left the greenhouse. Usually, we brothers like to drink tea and chat here, but under normal circumstances, Wengziu and I are the ones listening to the eldest brother and the second brother bickering. They have been getting along in that way since they were young. Are you going to explain it to me again? Chu Xia looked at him. I believe it. Really, third brother doesn't need to explain this matter anymore. But you and your second uncle and second aunt are not happy, and your Captain Joe should also be unhappy. When Lin Wenjie said this, he looked obviously aggrieved. If it were you, would you be happy? After a pause, Lin Wenjie shook his head. I don't know, but I guess I won't be too happy. Isn't that the end of it? It's Chinese New Year. We encountered such a scene when we came here. If it's normal, that's fine. We are all Chinese. We should understand that no one likes making such a fuss on the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year, right? Especially in a situation like ours, it's easier to think too much, don't you think? Yes. My father and my mother grew up in rural areas and did not receive much education from a big family. Moreover, my father never thought that he would have such an identity, and he never thought that one day he would have to face such a life. Everything came so suddenly, and he finally accepted it, and tried to integrate himself into this family. However, when he arrived here happily, what greeted him was completely different from what he imagined. What do you think he will think now? No matter how nice or flawless the explanation is, he can't really be happy. If his previous living environment was better than ours, or he wouldn't think too much about it, on the contrary, they are two extremes. Do you think he would think too much? If you don't understand, you can think about it for a moment. If you find a girlfriend and her family's conditions are better than ours, and then you go to her house and her family doesn't take her seriously, what would you think? My girlfriend's family is not as well off as ours. After I went there, everyone was very enthusiastic, Lin Wenjie explained with a blushing face. Chu Xia looked helpless. I'm asking you to assume that your girlfriend's family background is not as good as ours. Hey, you look quite smart. Why do you have so much trouble communicating? Are you angry? Lin Wenjie looked at her cautiously. I'm a little nervous talking to you, so please speak slowly and understandably. Don't be angry, okay? What's there to be nervous about? I don't eat people. Chu Xia had a feeling of weakness all over her body. It was too strenuous to communicate on the same frequency band. Is there anything wrong? To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 682. My body is still recovering, so I won't update more often. Among all the elders of the Lin family, Lin Chuchun respected Lin Baohe and Lin Baojuan the most. He and Chuchu are twins, but Chuchu has been loved by his grandparents and parents since he was a child. He has a stubborn temper, talks little, and doesn't know how to say pleasant things. No matter whether the trouble is caused by him or Chuchu, he will definitely be punished. It's him. Especially when it comes to bullying Chuxia, it was Chuchu who did it every time, but every time he would take the blame. As for Chuxia who was bullied, he often couldn't figure out who bullied him, so he wanted to appeal. No witnesses could be found. He thought that the second uncle would hate him, but the second uncle said that he couldn't do such a thing. Once, he heard the second uncle tell his parents that he didn't do the thing, so don't punish him. He burst into tears at the time, but he just didn't know how to express his temper. He knew that his second uncle was good to him, and he was grateful to his second uncle, but he wouldn't say it out loud. What he can repay is that in the days to come, when Chuchun bullies Chuxia, as long as he is around, he will definitely stop Chuxia from being bullied. Also, even when his grandparents and parents were talking about the second uncle's family, he would risk being kicked out of the house to report to the second uncle's family. This is the reason why he respects his second uncle Lin Baohe. It is very simple, but in his opinion, it is very precious because the second uncle truly understands him. Apart from his second uncle, his sister-in-law is another person who speaks for him. My sister-in-law is also the other person besides my second uncle who finds out that he always takes the blame for Chuchun. He knew very well how much his grandparents disliked his second uncle's family, but his sister-in-law was able to do it. She also interacted with the second uncle's family and had a good relationship with her grandparents. Although his grandparents would sometimes scold his sister-in-law, they did not bear any grudge against her. He was particularly impressed by her sister-in-law's ability to do this. Also, every time when the little girl goes back to her parents' home to bring gifts to him and Chuchu, she always tells Chuchu not to steal them from him. This kind of understanding is very heartwarming. Therefore, now his sister-in-law advised him not to refuse the kindness of his second uncle's family, but he was really embarrassed to refuse again. After hesitating, he nodded, second uncle's mother, I listen to you. Good boy, this is a good boy. Lin Baohe hugged his shoulders and shook him, feeling happy from the bottom of his heart. In his heart, Chuchu was still his nephew, the same as Lin Wenbin. Lin Baohe is a grateful person. He remembered everything he had done for his family in the early spring. People, the hands extended in the most difficult times, are the most precious. Such a simple thing has to be so complicated. Seeing that the family finally reached an agreement, the fat ant laughed. In the early spring, from now on, when your second uncle and second uncle are not at home, you will treat me and your uncle Gangshun as our own. Your second uncle and second uncle's mother. I'm not trying to get close. Your brother Hunky and sister Ziokshan need your second uncle and second aunt to take care of you. Of course I have to take care of you for them, right? Chuchun touched her forehead and smiled, but didn't answer. Zhao Yulan quickly smoothed things over. Stop teasing the child. It's not like you don't know he is honest. Is he honest? The fat ant raised her eyebrows. Yulan, are you not mistaken? This child has an idea in his heart in Chuchun. If you don't believe me, just look at it. This child's future achievements will definitely be no worse than Hunky's. Who said that honest people can't have ideas? Look at Baohe, don't you have some ideas? The black line on Zhao Yulan's head showed that she couldn't understand the fat ant's logic. That's true. The fat ant laughed. We are talking about different things. I mean, like my Hunky's honest approach. Your Hunky also has a good idea. Fat ant. That's right. If her son had a bad idea, he wouldn't have reached such an agreement with Chu Xia. Hey, what kind of hole has she dug for herself? I'm teasing you. Zhao Yulan laughed, I know what you mean. According to what you said, Shuchun is dishonest. He just doesn't want to talk nonsense. Let me just say. Fat Ant glared at her with dissatisfaction. After living in the city for a few days, my ability to tease people has really improved. Shuchun quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, he was nervous, fearing that the two of them would get into trouble because of him. Yulan, Baohe, I think you should go back quickly. Chuxia can't stand it now. We have nothing to say about the in-laws doing everything, and we can't do anything to make people feel uncomfortable. Mrs. Zhao looked at Zhou Mikong, I know your family is generous, but we still have to pay attention to what we should pay attention to. Mr. Zhao quickly answered, Xiaomi, our Xia is young and has not experienced any big scenes. If she does something wrong, you should try to smooth things over for her. During pregnancy, your temperament and personality may change. You should be more patient and speak up for him in front of your family. Zhou Mikang quickly expressed his position, Grandma, Grandpa, don't worry. My grandparents, parents, and mother are now closer to Chu Xia than to me. It would be even more important if they knew that Chu Xia had the next generation in her belly that they had longed for. Put it in your mouth for fear of spending it, pat it in your hand for fear of falling. No, 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 Chu Xia waved her hands anxiously, Zhou Mikang, you have to coordinate this matter, and you can't make me look like a giant panda. It's been more than 9 months, I will go crazy. Don't worry, everything will be coordinated for you. However, from now on, you must stop intensive exercise. You cannot do any other exercise except walking. Then can I go to the hospital? My advice is don't go. But I don't want to be bored at home. In this case. After a pause, Zhou Mixang said, then you can study in college and go home before giving birth. What procedures will I go through for you then? It seemed that this was the best way. Even though she was still reluctant, Chu Xia had no choice but to agree. Her mood was really complicated. Being a mother, she had really never thought about it seriously. When the two were discussing, neither Mr. Zhao nor Mrs. Zhao nor Zhao Yulan or Lin Baohe expressed their opinions. They knew Chu Xia's character very well. Although it was very different from before, the stubbornness was still there. Moreover, they do not think that staying at home is the best. After all, as Mrs. Zhao is worried, the living environment is different. Staying with the mother-in-law every day will inevitably lead to bumps and bruises. Who does this mean? All are bad. It seems like the best thing to do is to stay at school, not delaying study, but also being able to calm down and take care of the baby. After the matter was settled, Chu Xia felt relaxed and finally had the energy to gossip. Chu Chun, do you know how Chu Chu and Chun and I are doing now, ours? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 683. When Chu Xia asked about Chu Chu's affairs, Chu Chun wrinkled her nose and said, that idiot is only as capable as a gangster, but when he met Chun and I, he was more honest than a newborn lamb. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Chunny has no intention of getting along with him at all. If she doesn't reject him, she just wants to find multiple options. If he really becomes a worker, maybe Chunny will be with him, but if he wants to stand up and be a man in this life, don't even think about it. If he can't be a worker, Chunny will never be with him. Even if his family really builds a row of red brick houses for him, if he can't be a worker, Chunny will not be with him. What she said before was just Chunny's trick. She knew that our family's condition was that it would be impossible to build a big house with tiles. If we agreed to her, it would most likely be the help from our second uncle. If the second uncle can help Chukia with this matter, then he can certainly help with the matter of being a worker. If he can get a big tiled house and become a two-income earner, won't she make a lot of money? Of course, if you just get the big tiled house from the second uncle's family, you still won't be able to work as a worker in early autumn. Chunny will definitely have other opinions by then. This is not what I guessed. It was said by several sisters who are close to Chunny. It spread throughout the village. Chun Sheng and Tai Jun, who played well with Shukyu, had already trusted Shukyu, but he didn't believe it at all. Had to bite him to death, saying that it was him that Chunai liked. If people really like him, do they need to put forward these messy conditions? Second uncle and second uncle, am I right? Yes, Lin Bao, he sighed, I understand all this. In fact, Chu Chu himself should understand it, but he just doesn't want to admit it. Lin Bao Juan answered, yes, if he admitted it, why would he bother with the family? Even if the child is sweet, he will be jealous of him and spoil him. As far as the family is concerned, he is a bitch. I can't even listen to it, I have to hit my head and bleed out one day to remember it. Lin Chuchun wrinkled his nose again, let him do whatever he likes. Anyway, I said everything I should say. Chuchun, what are you looking for? Chu Xia continued to ask. Me, after a pause, Lin Chuchun said, I have figured it out a long time ago. I will not find a wife before I have any future. I don't want a wife who is being manipulated like this. Okay, you have the guts. Lin Baojuan happily patted her nephew, my sister-in-law supports you. You are still young anyway, so there is no need to rush. Zhao Yulan nodded, that's true. I'm only 18 after the new year, and it won't be too late to find someone in 2 years. It's better to find someone early than to find someone later. Finding the right one is better than anything else. It's a lifelong companion. If you're careless, you'll be the one who suffers. Lin Chuchun nodded repeatedly, second sister is right, that's what I think. Looking at you being silent all day long, you have some ideas. Chu Xia looked at him with a smile, Comrade Lin Chuchun, as long as you work hard, you will definitely have a bright future. I am optimistic about you. Lin Chuchun snorted unconvinced, sister, you are only 2 months older than me. Even if you are 2 days older, you are still older. You have to call me sister and listen to me. Chu Xia raised her eyebrows proudly, this is not something you can change if you are not convinced. Who said that since you are a sister, I have to listen to everything you say? Even if you are the second uncle and the second uncle, I will only listen to what you say is right. Chuchun reasoned with Chuxia, holding her neck. Look, after just a few words, the real person is revealed. Chu Xia curled her lips at him, you've been talking to me like this since you were a child. You don't act like a younger brother at all. He wanted to say a few words to Chu Xiagang again, but noticed the somewhat unkind look on his brother-in-law's face. Chu Chun had no choice but to shut up and stop talking. He has such a temper. Because he is grateful to Lin Baohe and his wife, he has always turned to them for everything. However, he is not very good at dealing with Chu Xia and Chu Xia, so he can't do it if he is asked to listen to Chu Xia's disagreements and talk back to Chu Xia. He also knew that his persistence and theory were somewhat unreasonable, but he couldn't admit his mistake to Chu Xia, so silence was the only way he could choose. And Chu Xia, seeing him like this, also secretly smiled bitterly. She was used to joking with Luo Xiaoxian. In addition, she was married well and no one restricted her temperament. She spoke more casually, and as a result, she ignored Lin Chuchun's true feelings. Character. The fact that he can come to report to their home does not mean that he is easy to talk to. Coupled with her bad deeds when she was a child, it was simply impossible for him to look at her differently all of a sudden. I'm sorry, I was joking with you. If you don't like it, I will take back what I just said. Chu Xia looked at Chu Chun seriously and apologized. After being stunned for a moment, Lin Chuchun quickly waved his hands, no, I He stuttered, not knowing what to say. He didn't expect that Chuxia would apologize to him. For a moment just now, he was indeed unconvinced that Chuxia came to teach him a lesson. But when he thought about it just now, he realized that his tone was simply a joke. What on earth was he sensitive about, and what did he care about? Lin Chuchun, it's a little difficult for you to make a career with your personality. Luo Xiaoxiang smiled and patted his shoulder. I'm more than a year older than you, and I've been working for more than half a year. I'd like to say something big to you. To be honest, being too stubborn is not a good thing, and being too serious is not a good thing either. I know, Lin Chuchun admitted in a voice as loud as a mosquito. His fault was not directed at Luo Xiaoxiang, but at Chuxia. He has such a character. When he realizes that he is wrong, he will immediately take back his arrogance. However, he still cannot apologize so frankly. Zhao Yulan quickly smoothed things over. Okay, we all know your character. As a family, don't explain yourself. If you still treat us as the second uncle and second uncle's mother, if you have any difficulties in the future, just write to us. If you have any questions that you don't understand, write to us. If nothing else, it's good to enlighten you, right? Lin Chuchun nodded quickly. Second aunt, don't worry, I will listen to you. A person's personality cannot change all of a sudden, and real change must be done consciously by the person concerned. Talking more at this moment will only increase the embarrassment, so Chuxia changed the subject. Mom, tonight I want to eat the scallion pancakes you made. Okay, Mom, I'll bake it for you. Zhao Yulan looked at Lin Chuchun. Chun, let's stay and eat together tonight, your house is also a mess. Lin Chuchun quickly waved her hand. Second aunt, no need. I can go home and eat. Otherwise, Chuxia will be unbalanced again. It's okay to open your mouth more, but some things are not discussed in this way. After hearing what Chuchun said, Zhao Yulan stopped insisting. Chuchu was probing around outside, and Chuchun quickly said goodbye. However, before he could leave, Chuchu had already barged in. As soon as he entered the house, he knelt down with a plop. He didn't know who he was kneeling for, but there were a lot of people in the room anyway. He probably didn't even see who was who, so he knelt down. Chuchu, what are you doing? Zhao Yulan quickly reached out to pull him, and Chuchu took advantage of the situation to grab Zhao Yulan's hand. Second uncle, please help me with your second uncle. Before Zhao Yulan could react, she felt a light touch on her hand. When she looked up, she found that Lin Chuxia was being lifted out by Zhou Mikang like a little chicken. It was probably because the situation was so sudden that Lin Chuxia was also frightened, and she didn't even say a word. The leader is so kind to you. Luo Xiaoxiang looked at Chuxia with envy. If your brother could treat me like this, it would be worth it for me to die immediately. Lin Baojuan and others who were still confused just now understood why Zhou Mikang acted just now. He didn't want anyone to affect Chuxia's mood. Sister, you are so lucky. Luin Xiaoxiang looked at Chuxia with envy. I have never heard of a man who treats his wife so well. Lin Wenbin, who had been sitting silently, also had a look of relief on his face. He doted on this lost and recovered little cousin, but he also knew very well that no matter how good he was to her, it was not as important as how good her husband was to her. So, since arriving in Dalian village, he has stopped competing with Zhou Mixang for everything. On the one hand, he hopes that he can take more care of his little cousin, and on the other hand, he also wants to observe him carefully. Now, he is really relieved. Of course, it was not his fault originally, but he regards his little cousin as his own sister from the bottom of his heart and wants to love her and pamper her. Rs. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 684. Just one update today, more updates tomorrow. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe were really happy about Zhou Mikang's actions. Their son-in-law valued their daughter so much, so what else could they worry about? Therefore, when Zhou Mikang left and came back, the couple looked at him with obviously more eager eyes. Everyone's expressions fell into their eyes, and Chu Xia had a dark streak. She was almost certain that from now on, when she and Zhou Mikang had conflicts, everyone would feel that she was the one who was wrong. So what if a man protected her like this? Maybe bullying her? Lin Chuqiu didn't come in again, nor did she make any sound. Everyone's eyes were a little confused, and they all turned to Zhou Mikang. I didn't say anything, I just smashed a brick on the ground with my palm, and then he left happily. Everyone. For Lin Chuqiu, who has been pampered since childhood, as timid as a mouse and as afraid of pain as a tiger, this move is more effective than anything else. I'll go back too. If he goes back to complain and it causes others to have any thoughts, I'll come over and tell him in advance, Lin Chuchun said as he walked out. Let me see you off. Luan Xiaoxiang followed. She admired Lin Chuchun's actions very much. For the first time, she felt that this little brother who was about the same age as her was quite like an older brother. Lin Baojuan looked at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan, second brother, second sister-in-law, you have seen it? The children have all seen your kindness over the years. Lin Baohe nodded, well, it's worth it. Zhao Yulan also nodded. She knew that Luan Xiaoxiang said she was going to see Lin Chuchun off, but actually wanted to follow her to find out the news. If it had been before, she would have stopped her, but now that she had just found out that her daughter was pregnant, she didn't. She hoped that her daughter would be disturbed, but she remembered the affection between the two children. Lin Baohe no longer has any relatives in Dalian village. Zhao Yulan's natal family has met her, and other relatives don't need her to visit, so speaking of it, the couple will just stay idle if they stay. Considering their daughter's health, the two of them felt separated. They looked at each other to understand each other's feelings. Zhao Yulan looked at Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao, father, mother. Mr. Zhao waved his hand to interrupt her, no need to say anything, you guys should go back as soon as possible tomorrow. Your mother and I both understand that in a few days, when your brother and sister-in-law are free, we can go to a city together, and we can also see Qiliang. Baohe. Yulan, this is the result of your father and I's discussion just now. Don't waste another day. You will never be able to break up with these people. At any other time, we wouldn't be in a hurry to send you back, but right now, it's better to do less than to do more. We need to take good care of you during the first 3 months of pregnancy. There are those who have strong bodies and can be beaten no matter how hard they are, but our Siata has a small body and weak bones, so we can't take any risks. It's okay if we don't have the conditions. Now that we have this condition, we have to take good care of our children. Xia, listen to grandma. Don't rush to work and go to school. Right now, nothing is as important as the child in your belly. After these 3 months, if your mother-in-law's family agrees to your going to work and school, just go, don't hold back with the elders, do you listen? After a slight hesitation, Chu Xia said, Grandma, I heard it, but I want to do a detailed examination after I go back. If all the indicators are normal and there is no problem with my health, I still hope to do something. I'm only this age, and if I'm bored at home, I'll feel like I'm being locked up. Moreover, if I'm left behind too much, it will be troublesome to catch me up later. Grandma, Grandpa, I really hope to make you proud with my own efforts. It's not that I don't believe in Zhou Mikang, I just hope that I can be of some use, and I don't point at him for everything. What she said was equivalent to indirectly denying the old lady's proposal. She still wanted to go to school and didn't want to waste time at home. Mrs. Zhao looked at Mr. Zhao helplessly. Hey, sighing, The old man waved his hand to the old lady. She is already an adult and is going to be a mother. She knows it well, so let's not worry about it. Chu Xia felt sour in her heart. She was really lucky. She met such reasonable parents and such a tolerant grandma and grandpa. She looked at the two old people seriously. Grandma, Grandpa, don't worry, I won't do anything random. If the doctor agrees with me to work or study, I will go. If not, I will definitely stay at home. Zhao Yulan quickly added, Father, Mother, we are still following her. If she is too stubborn and disobedient, we will not let her go. Don't worry. And I will also keep an eye on her, Lin Wenbin said, reaching out and patting Zhou Mikang. Besides, there is also this. He should not go on missions in the past 6 months. With him here, Chu Xia will not mess around. Brother, are you questioning me? Chu Xia pouted dissatisfiedly. I have already promised you, and you still say this. Are you too untrustworthy? It's my fault, my fault. Lin Wenbin quickly apologized. Of course I believe you. Aren't you afraid that Grandma and Grandpa will be worried? It's excusable, isn't it? Don't worry, Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao looked at each other and nodded repeatedly with happy smiles on their faces. At this moment, they were really relieved. After the matter was settled, Zhao Yulan felt a little sad again. Looking at Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao, her eyes were slightly red. The old man and the old lady are getting older. Of course, she wants to spend more time with them, but she can't ignore her daughter. This makes her feel very uncomfortable. She feels that she is very unfilial. Knowing that her daughter was Mo or her mother, Mrs. Zhao smiled at her. Yulan, my father and mother are still in good health. Besides, this car is convenient now. When you are free, come back with Bao He. Your father and I also go to your place to live every once in a while. It's the same, isn't it? Yeah, Zhao Yulan nodded with a choked voice. At this time, there was a noise outside, and everyone in the room looked out. It was Zhao Yuqi's family. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe walked out immediately, and Chu Xia and other juniors also hurriedly followed. No matter what, the etiquette must be passable when they meet for the first time after the new year. Zhang Xiaoqing is stronger than the last time we saw him, and the fur around his mouth is thicker. His personality is actually a bit shy. When he greeted Luo Xiaoqing and Luan Xiaoxiang in Chuxia, his face turned as red as an apple. Xiaoqing. Chu Xia looked at him in surprise. I haven't seen you for a few months, why do you seem like a different person? We are both your sisters, why are you blushing? He blushes when he talks to girls now. Not to mention you, even his cousin blushes like a monkey when he says a word. Your second uncle even took him to the hospital to have a look, for fear that he is what's wrong with you. Mom, Zhang Xiaoqing glared at Zhao Yuqi with some annoyance, if you keep nagging me, go back. Okay, I won't say anything anymore. Zhao Yuqi looked at her sister Zhao Yulan helplessly. That's how you raise a kid. When you were a child, you were naughty, but when you grow up, you are stubborn. How can a daughter have peace of mind? Yulan, sister, compared with you, I really dare not compare. Sister, it's good for a son to have a son, and it's good for a daughter to have a daughter. Our sisters, please don't say polite words, Zhao Yulan said while grabbing melon seeds and peanuts for her. Sister, those who are celebrating the new year, don't be idle. I heard someone said that you were back. I was still a little skeptical, so I went to Xiaolin village first. I didn't expect it to be true. No, we just came here. Zhao Yuqi looked at the old man and the old lady. By the way, Mom and Dad, my eldest brother and sister-in-law told me that you can stay here for as many days as you want. They are taking care of you at home, so don't worry about it. Mrs. Zhao looked at her second daughter and second son-in-law with a smile. Yuqi, there is good news that you don't know yet, Xia is going to be a mother. Ah, Zhao Yukui was slightly startled, then grabbed Chu Xia's hand in an exaggerated manner, and looked her up and down. I mean, our Xia looks plumper, and her face is particularly good looking. It turns out that there is such a big happy event. It's so good, so good. I have black lines all over my head in early summer. Will a pregnant person be plump and look particularly good looking? Her second aunt's mouth has always been like this. Even if something like that happened last time, it lasted for a few days, and then she went back again. Especially now that the second uncle has become the town secretary, everyone's attitude towards the second uncle is not as good as before. It is probably impossible to make her more down to earth. And people have the habit of remembering bad things and forgetting good things. When Zhou Mikang helped rescue my second uncle, she was grateful for a while, but now, she has probably forgotten all about that gratitude, and she may still feel resentful in her heart. Their help was not thorough enough and they did not directly transfer my second uncle to the county. Don't blame her for being a villain, she actually came to this time and space and has seen through all the good and bad aspects of human nature. And she now has a feeling that the second aunt had one attitude when talking to them, but when it was her turn to talk to Lin Baojuan and Luan Qingshu, she obviously had a different attitude. Probably, in the second aunt's eyes, she and her family were blood relatives, and Lin Baojuan's family was no longer considered relatives of their family after Lin Baohe's life experience was revealed. Therefore, Zhao Yukui looked down upon Lin Baojuan's family, who were just ordinary villagers, and his words were obviously condescending. Lin Baojuan has a good personality, but that doesn't mean she has a temper that can be manipulated by others. When she saw Zhao Yukui's different treatment, when she looked at the other party again, her expression obviously turned pale. Ours. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 685. First update. Regardless of whether she was related to Lin Baojuan by blood or not, Chu Xia was closer to her. Therefore, her second aunt's indifference to her sister-in-law made her very disgusted. Sister-in-law, do you miss Dajiang? Chu Xia took her hand out of the second aunt Zhao Yukui's hand and moved it to her sister-in-law Lin Baojuan. Zhao Yukui's face froze slightly, and she looked at Lin Baojuan with a smile. Sister, mothers are like this. When their children are around, they wish they could be successful and go out quickly, but if they do go out, they will think twice. However, for the sake of their future development, it is better to let them go out. Our family, Xiaoqing, originally wanted to be a soldier. Later, I thought about it, we just have a child like this, and he has run too far away, and we really can't bear to let him go. We might as well let him go to college, and at least he can come back and stay twice a year. This child is currently lying on the book, but he can't work hard. Still sitting. Chu Xia frowned. Zhao Yukui was obviously showing off that Zhang Xiaoqing had a better future than Luan Dajiang. What on earth was she going to do? Second aunt, what do you mean? After being stunned for a moment, Zhao Yukui turned his attention to Zhao Yulan. Zhao Yulan also didn't like what her second sister was doing, but her parents were here and she didn't want the old man to worry, so she pulled Zhao Yukui out. Chu Xia took Lin Baojuan's hand and squeezed it comfortingly. Lin Baojuan understood what she meant. In front of Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao, her niece didn't want to say too much about Zhao Yukui, but she was afraid that she would feel uncomfortable, so she used this method to comfort her. Mrs. Zhao sighed and said, Baojuan, I apologize to you on behalf of the second child. She has been so competitive and unforgiving since she was a child. Her father and I have talked about her a lot but she didn't get up. How useful. Don't be the same as her. That kid from Daejiang is promising. We can all see it. From now on, he will be more promising if he goes to the military academy and enters the military academy. And, I'm not angry. After a pause, Lin Baojuan looked at Lin Baohe, who was looking at her worriedly. Second brother, I won't be separated from you and my second sister-in-law just because of what others say. Anyway, Daejeong is over there, and I need my second brother and sister-in-law to help me take care of it more. I also need Xiaozhou to worry more about Xiaoxiang's marriage. As long as my second brother and sister-in-law don't mind our family, I've been doing this forever. Okay. Okay, okay. The smile on Lin Baohe's face bloomed little by little, and he said okay several times. He knew the characters of Lin Baojuan and Luan Qingshu too well. They would never behave like Lin Baohai and his son. Outside, Zhao Yuqi was dragged to the corner of the east room by Zhao Yulan. Second sister, why do you always target Baojuan? Baohe is such a relative, do you want to make him feel comfortable without any contact with her? Magnolia. Zhao Yuqi stretched her head and looked around. When he saw that no one was following him, he said relieved, I am your sister. Can I harm you? Do you know how her family is rumored outside? Why did you pass it on? Baojuan is an honest person, and Qingshu is also an honest person. Xiaoxiang and Daejeong are also sensible children, but the old lady sometimes goes too far. If you want to pass it on, it is just a rumor, but this can do you blame them? You know what my former parents-in-law did to us, and many people know it, but some people still think that what I did was wrong. But what is the reality? You. Zhao Yuqi sighed helplessly, you used to marry into an ordinary family, so you didn't have to worry about some things, but what about now? If you don't think about yourself, don't you think about early summer? If she marries into the Zhou family, if she wants to live a good life, her parents' family won't give her a break. But how do you do it as a mother? When did you see the emperor's daughter making friends with common people? You should interact with people of whatever status you have, and don't take care of relatives who are beyond your reach. If you keep doing this all the time, how can the Zhou family be happy? What kind of status do you think this person has? How can he be busy with trivial matters all day long? Second sister, what did you say? Zhao Yulan frowned tightly, have you already figured it out after what happened last time? Why are you even more weird now? According to what you say, if my Xia had not joined the army and not married Xiaozhou, would you not even want to look at me now? So as not to make people think that you are trying to get along with all your relatives, right? Are you deliberately looking for trouble? Zhao Yuqi put her arms around her sister's shoulders. I am your biological sister, can I still harm you? Speaking of you and Baohe, your status is now higher than that of my sister. Go up the stairs, but when it comes to dealing with people, you are far behind. What kind of family does this have? What kind of rules does it have? If you remain the same as before, you will be ostracized by others. If you stand with you, you will be dragged into trouble. Tell me, why do people stand with you? Let's not talk about anything else, let's just talk about strengthening the family. In the past, when I had to rely on your brother-in-law, Chiang Junja was so satisfied with mating that he wished he could see her 3 times a day and marry her home as soon as possible, but what about now? Just because they have a better connection, have better development, and don't need us anymore, they immediately fall out. Now ask mating, how often can she see Chiang Junja? If he hadn't been thinking about your brother-in-law's kindness to him, he would have broken up with mating long ago. He is delaying it now because he wants mating to speak on her own. To be honest, I was very angry at the time because of this matter. You said that my niece must look good, have a stature, and be cultured. How could he just say that he doesn't like her if she doesn't like her? I even ran to scold him for being ungrateful. As for him, he smiled when I scolded him and apologized to me repeatedly, saying that he was just busy and had no other ideas. It was beyond imagination. Everyone knew that he was very close to the daughter of the head of Lu County. Some people even saw him and Lu Yang going to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy watches together. You said, if he had nothing to do with Lu Yang, could he buy her a watch? That's not buying a pound of candy or a pound of snacks. Mei Ying has made an appointment with him for such a long time, but he hasn't seen him buy a watch for Mei Ying. But at the end of the day, as long as he doesn't admit it, I really can't do anything. Now your brother-in-law can't influence his future. The most I can do is beat him twice or scold him, but what else can I do? Later, when I got home, your brother-in-law tried to reason with me. After these days, I also figured out that if you don't belong to the right family, you shouldn't blame others for being picky. Besides, we also know what kind of temper our Mei Ying has. She doesn't have much ability, but she is extremely angry. It would be too troublesome for others to marry such a daughter-in-law. Especially when Chiang Junja's second aunt is in school, Mei Ying not only refuses to please her, but also deliberately goes against her. Tell me, isn't she burying herself in a pit? Now it's better. As soon as the Lu family stretched out their branches, Chiang Junja and his second aunt blew the wind into the old man's ear. Then, before Chiang Junja himself could say anything, the elders had already made it clear that they were willing to marry the Lu family. After having been with Mei Ying for so long, Chiang Junja happened to be annoyed with her. If such a branch was handed to her, do you think he wouldn't catch it quickly? So I figured it out. I can't blame others for this. Yulan, when I say this, I don't mean that Captain Joe will be like this, but just to give an example, our family has already suffered a loss like this, and we can't stumble on this kind of thing again. Second sister, after listening for a long time, I only have one feeling, that strong and handsome man is not a good thing. Also, what can he compare with my son-in-law? My son-in-law and my daughter are together. It's a real relationship. It's not to please anyone or to please anyone. They just like my daughter. My daughter's temper is not the same as that of Mei Ying. What's the comparison? Okay, please forgive me for talking too much. Can you please forgive me for talking too much? Yulan, why can't you listen to advice at all now? You said, I am your biological sister, can I really harm you? I should be more busy. What is the picture? Let's put it this way, your brother-in-law has reached this age and the town secretary is almost done. We have never thought of getting anything out of Chu Xia. As for Xiao Qing, he has big ideas. He has said that if he fails to pass the college entrance examination, he will never give up. If he fails to pass the college entrance examination this year, he will continue next year. As far as his academic performance is concerned, it is safe to pass the college entrance examination in 2 years. After graduating from college, you will have an iron rice bowl. What do your brother-in-law and I have to worry about? Your child will be able to achieve as much success as he is capable of. We will never make it difficult for him in Chu Xia or make it difficult for Chu Xia to do things in his in-laws' house. You can rest assured of this. As for me, I have been talking to you so much just because I want you, Baohe and Chuxia, to live in peace and harmony in the future, and not to let other people's affairs affect your family again. Second sister, I'm very grateful that you consider me, but I don't understand how our interactions with Baojuan's family will affect the happiness of Chuxia, how it will affect the peace and harmony of our family. Already. Yulan. Zhao Yuqi looked at her sister speechlessly. What do you want me to say so that you can understand? Okay, I'll make it more clear. The Zhou family is a wealthy family, and you should interact with wealthy families more often in the future. When you come and go, don't always stare at the ordinary people from a small family. Otherwise, the Zhou family will look down on you. At the same time, the relatives and friends of the Zhou family will also look down on you. Together, they may look down on the Zhou family. If that were the case, how could people be nice to Xia? Can they be indifferent to Xia? You are overthinking. The Zhou family is not that snobbish. From the time we married Chu Xia, they knew that we were ordinary farmers with no abilities. When we got married, they also told the truth. Moreover, Xia, you were there when we got married. Did you see that people treat our relatives differently? To be continued.